If Mahatma Gandhi would be alive, he would have been a Bitcoin maxi. I guarantee you guys, decentralization, self-reliance, and truth. Absolutely. I grew up in Soviet Union and everything collapsed. The life savings of my parents evaporated overnight. And I kind of had this distrust towards the system establishment that could just throw you under the bus. And things connected, and in 2013 I decided to place the bet and went in all in with BitFury. Do you trust a fiat that is being inflated by central banks year after year? Or you trust a system that was created of mathematics and cryptography, which is the ultimate truth in my sort of a book.
What is the worst startup advice you got?
Using our Bitcoins to pay for CapEx. We had 600,000 Bitcoins, now we're down to a couple hundred. The comfort level of owning a Bitcoin is disproportionate into amount of time you dedicate studying it.
Bitcoin at $20 versus Bitcoin at $100,000. Which took more courage to buy? I think I'm going to walk you quickly through the journey in 4 or 5 parts. Let's go to the earliest days. So when you look at the day that you were fired being when Nakamoto published it, have you ever thought through this journey that this is what destiny means?
Of course not. So, here I am running this sort of the Russia and Ukraine operation of a large US-based hedge fund, private equity fund, and kind of top of the world. I'm 32, sort of doing these mega deals, and the global financial crisis hits. You guys remember the big Volkswagen Porsche bet, the kind of went crazy, and many others, AIG, Lehman. And the founder of Your Capital, Jamie Dimon, has called me in New York, and I already knew that there were a lot of redemptions. There was, blood on the streets. Went out Cipriani, and he said, "George, we love you, but the fund is down, and we just need to shore up and go back to basics." And Jamie's been my mentor, and one of the things he said, think of the next big thing. And that kind of sort of stayed with me, because it was sort of a complete reinvention. And, I took a year off, went on sort of traveled the world. By the way, whenever you have these type of moments where you're high and fly and then kind of life throws you under a bus, go and self-reflect, spend time in nature or go travel. It's really a big decompression and just sort of switching your mentality on things, because during that you can find an answer in terms what to do next. So I traveled a lot, went to like 60 countries, and ended up coming back and became a big investor in agriculture of all the places in Ukraine. So built up a portfolio of lots of land, so I got to appreciate the power of production of land, the scarcity value of that. And then at a certain stage when we exited that sort of an investment, a friend of mine kept pestering me about this Bitcoin and Bitcoin and Bitcoin. I'm like, listen, I have no idea what it is, but I'll study it up. And sure enough, Cyprus banking crisis happened. I don't know how affected India, but in Europe that was like a big wake-up moment, because all of a sudden you had your accounts being frozen, not being to take out. And sure enough, interesting, Bitcoin shot up from $20 to like $200. And I'm kind of numbers guy, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting, like what's going on here? And I started exploring and contacted our classmates on West Coast. I contacted Hardeep, Travis, Jagerson Tai, and Divesh Makan. And talking to these guys, Divesh said, "George, forget about Buffett and all these guys. Big clients of mine, serious tech guys, are investing in it." So I'm like, okay, this is like serious stuff, And I've kind of started reading up, went on a Khan Academy, and more I realized that this was really something profound. It's sort of from mathematical beauty of it, the cryptography, the decentralized sort of a nature of it, because I grew up in Soviet Union and everything collapsed. Everything collapsed. The life savings of my parents evaporated overnight, and I kind of had this distrust towards the system, the establishment that could just throw you under the bus. And things connected, and in 2013 I decided to place the bet and went in all in with BitFury. In our space, we always joked, they kind of ignored us. Now they're kind of laughing at us. Now they're fighting us. So Gandhi's theme and arc was always there, And if you think about, more I was thinking, 15, 16, I started noticing that. You look at Gandhi's Satya, truth, right? You have this underlying, but truth through mathematics. Do you trust a fiat that is being inflated by central banks year after year? Or you trust a system that was created of mathematics and cryptography, which is the ultimate truth in my a book. And then you look at Gandhi's concept of self-reliance. Bitcoin is all about self-reliance. You're in the system, you rely on yourself. There's not going to be someone bailing you out. System of decentralization. And connecting all these dots, I came out to a point where I've traveled to many countries. Have any of you ever heard any country where you use a terminology of 10 million as a word? Any country? No, you typically in the West you use 100 or 1,000 or a million, 100 million, but nowhere 10 million. Nowhere. And it dawned on me that you have crore, which is 10 million. One Bitcoin is 10 million Satoshis. One Bitcoin is 1 crore. And I just connected it, the other day talking to the concierge. Like, we're talking about things and okay, 10 million. It's very interesting. I'm not saying, Satoshi Nakamoto is Indian, but whatever was due, definitely has been exposed to Indian culture and a Gandhi philosophy. Absolutely, I'm certain of that. A person that, or group of individuals that have created this. And frankly speaking, I was joking, if Mahatma Gandhi would be alive, he would have been a Bitcoin maxi, totally. I guarantee you guys, decentralization, self-reliance, and truth. Absolutely. And who else would have been maxi? Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, and all of those that started out the movements to fight the oppressor and going out and making a positive impact. So there's just a lot of undercurrents. And for me, it was to come to India on that day of a release to pay homage to this great man. It was really important for me. And the title of the book, And Then You Win, and it's really, and then we all win. And the next chapter is taking the winnings from Bitcoin and reinvest in entrepreneurs and funding the next generation of entrepreneurs that can go on and make wins and make a positive impact on the world.
Awesome. And in the when do you think the Valley eventually caught on? I mean, Anderson had a crypto fund eventually. Yeah. How long did it take for the Valley to catch up?
Listen, I mean, I appreciate also the Silicon Valley guys sitting there. Here we come in, a team from Ukraine that does have a great a chip. And yes, at that time we already had Bill Tai kind of vouching for us and bringing in. But it's a hardware business. Hardware business is very, very tough business. It's very capex intensive. One mistake, you set you back. So, there were 20 or so competitors back then. So I totally understand. I was one of the founders of Kiev YPO Club in Ukraine. And through that I got to know people. And one of the people were CNBC producers. And I flew into New York with Val. By the way, it's the first trip that Val has ever made in the United States. And there was a big conference in New York. And, I just reached out to one of the producers and wow, Bitcoin is a hot theme. Why don't you guys come in? So here I am. I know what Squawk Box is. It's first day of Val in the United States. At that time, his English was, it's okay. And his question was, what is this thing? And is this live? And I said, yeah, it is live, but don't worry, we'll get through it. So I remember that time, Hardeep Walia, our friend Motif, he was on CNBC all the time. So I called Hardeep, from W. Hardeep, like, dude, like, you need to help. Like, George, don't worry about it. You just need to memorize a couple of one-liners and do it and show the product. And I, back then, you know, Val had this chip, a small BitFury chip, in a small plastic bag. And he was like, he pulled it out before the show. I'm like, dude, this is gonna look like crack cocaine. We cannot be showing, you know, going on a Bitcoin, and you know, this is a time when you have Silk Road and all this thing, and all of a sudden this, you know, Ukrainian, Latvian guy comes in and waving a crack cocaine on with Andrew Ross Sarkin and Joe Kerner, you know, on the live show. So we made sure, in order for him not to lose the chip, he had few chips, and thank God, you know, there were one-liners, and he pulled out this chip, they showed, and you know, Andrew Ross Sarkin's like, you know, it's like, this thing mines Bitcoin. And, you know, he said, yeah, this thing mines Bitcoin. It's like, wow, amazing. And Joe Kerner, I don't know how many of you know this guy, who is one of the old-timer CNBC guys. He was observing, since then, he has become, like, over the years, the Bitcoin maxi of all this sort of, so I'm kind of proud that maybe we have orange-pilled him at that point. So as we are growing and developing, we're riding the wave. Competition is falling sideways because, you know, we really had this brilliant team. In 2015, we put up this first immersion cooling data center. Now they're all like very sexy, and you know, everybody talks about it. But basically, you're submerging your chips in a liquid solution. So you eliminate a lot of the air cooling. So you PUE, or your energy goes down to 102. You save a lot on capex. But we were the largest 3M company's producer of the solutions, and we launched 40 megawatt facility in December 2015. And we made, I think, crucial mistake. In 2015 December, we announced that we had a 16 nanometer chip. That was by far the industry, I mean, it was like the kind of Ferrari of the industry, and we showcased it on YouTube. It was not some kind of, you know, PR. We actually had a YouTube recording. And I think that kind of set up in motion a very strange sort of a situation where, you know, we got a lot of orders, hundreds of millions of dollars, which was a lot of money back then. And come February, I'm flying to Hong Kong, and I get a phone call saying, you know what, the chip doesn't work. Like, what's going on? And it was just a realization that, you know, it had a 99% yield on MPW, and when it went to full production, it went down to 1%. And that has never happened in history of, you know, TSMC. And then you realize, okay, this is it basically, because we've taken the pre-orders, and you know, this chip is not coming out. And that's, you know, you kind of realize, okay, this may be over. Interestingly, once that information was there, I rallied up internal team, and we put everything we had, all our life savings, to buy us that extra 6 to 7 months in order to figure out what the fuck was going on. And that was the first big crisis that hit us, that in a way altered in a big way the market share.
What went wrong, just to finish that story, and how did you fix it, by the way?
So we flew into Taiwan, and one of the key advisors, first of all, Bill Tai brought senior advisory. So we had guys like Young San, the vice president of Samsung. He was semiconductor guru, working with Samsung, and he was head of Intel before in Korea, I believe. Jackson Hu was vice chair of UMC, and then president of UMC, and then TSMC from Taiwan. So we came to Taiwan to start figuring out what was going on. We went to the design house, we went to TSMC, and there was a working group created in order to start figuring out what was going on. And at some point, it sort of months are going in. For us, for TSMC, we are small fish. And I realized that, okay, this thing is not gonna go anywhere. So we had to go in and engage a prominent lobby firm in Washington, D.C. that reached out to John Negroponte, who was, you know, ambassador luminary, who knew Dr. Morris Chang. And if you guys know anything about Taiwan, Taiwan is really Dr. Morris Chang that started TSMC. He's the legend. And John called him up and told the situation, and Morris was extremely surprised this thing happened, such a yield. He called up the head, and within 24 hours, this thing was accelerated, and sure enough, in a month's time, the new chips were produced. The comfort level of owning a Bitcoin is disproportionate into amount of time you dedicate studying it. This is the ultimate DYOR. And to many people that don't have time, I've been saying for the last 12 years, put in 1-2% of your liquid position into this and let it sort of ride. Put in a position, if 1-2% position worries, you're going to be waking up in the middle of the night checking the price, then don't. Put 0.5%. If 5% you're fine, then go and do it. But I guarantee you, once you start going down the Bitcoin rabbit hole and learning about how it's constructed and such, you will be putting more and more into this. Now, it's an asymmetric bet. And it's not a bet on, Paul Tudor Jones coming or BlackRock, and, of course the institutionalization has played a big part. But it really is the bet against the global central banks printing more fiat. It's a simple bet. It's a directional bet. Yes, it will be volatile. By the way, the volatility has come down tremendously, by the way. But it is, you're betting against humans' lack of discipline. Look at the global, you look at Elon, God bless. I mean, when he started Doge, I knew that that was not going to go anywhere. You kidding me? He's fighting up against the establishment that has massive allocations from budgets in various places like Alabama, Mississippi, and Oregon, so on and so forth. There is no way. So if you trust that the government will be living within the means and within budgets, and the central banks will not be printing money, don't buy Bitcoin. Don't. It's not going to go anywhere. But unfortunately, the world is completely different. And that's why it has shined. And it will continue to do so. Look at the global debt levels. Look at the global budget deficits. It's a one-directional bet. And the guys like Paul Tudor Jones and Larry Finks, they have come to it not because, Bitcoin, it's because they connected those dots. And that is, a bet on that. Or as Chamath likes to say, it's a schmuck insurance,
That's a wrap on this weekday episode of the Blume podcast. We've handpicked these moments to give you the most valuable insights in the least amount of time.
Our season partner Ultrahuman is back for a second time. I'm biased as the seed investor here, but their immensely loved brand is making waves globally. Ultrahuman is a health tech pioneer redefining how we track and improve our health. Their sleek titanium ring air and its new rare metal cousins accurately track sleep, movement, and recovery to deliver real-time health insights and personalized nudges. Ultrahuman is creating a unique health ecosystem built on top of the wearable data. It just launched Blood Vision in the US in addition to India, a blood testing service that offers a panel of over 100 longevity and chronic disease biomarkers with the convenience of an at-home test. They're also launching Ultrahuman Home globally for environment-aware analysis and sleep insights. Whatever your health fix, go sign up and experience being truly Ultrahuman. Our seasoned partner, IDFC First Bank, has earned its reputation as one of India's most startup-friendly banks through its First Wings program, which provides dedicated mentorship and tailored financial solutions to help early-stage ventures scale effectively. Coincidentally, many of Blume's portfolio companies, much later stage, also partner with IDFC First Bank for their banking and financial needs. If you're well-funded and scaling, they're a great lending and banking partners, and our portfolio companies would attest to that.